Hello, boys and girls. How the hell are you? I thought I'd show you some of the steps that I take when I'm doing a beaded belt. Or even an inlaid belt, as far as like if you've got like an ostrich skin you want to put back there. I've seen some of them use the Louis Vuitton stuff back there. And this is how I do it. I go ahead and measure out the belt. This one's going to be a 34. And of course it's upside down to y'all because I'm over here on the other side of the camera. I do all my tooling on it. But the first thing I've got to do before I even start the tooling is lay out my hole for where this is going to be. And to do that, first thing you need to do is ask your customer what kind of belt he's wearing. Most of my customers are cowboys, so they're wearing a plate buckle as opposed to a heel bar buckle. A plate buckle is like that, cowboy stuff. The heel bar buckle I don't have here in front of me, but it's basically just the buckle that, well, actually I do have one here. This is what I mean by a heel bar. The heel toe of the buckle has got a bar through it. Sometimes they'll have what they call a center bar buckle, which means you've got like the buckle like that with the bar in the middle. But for the plate buckle, what you do is you go from your fold right there, oops, to your belt size, which is 34 on this particular belt, which you can't see my mark anymore because I've tooled over it. But from there, half of 34 is 17. So now I'll find my center mark, which you can barely see right there. I'll measure the beading that I've got a young lady in Utah doing for me. And then I'll split it in half, and then that's my hole size. Now, I also double check. I haven't cut the hole yet because I want to make sure it fits. Looks like I might need to cut a little bit more, about a bead's worth on either end. But we'll know for sure once I get it onto my lining piece. My lining piece here, I've made the same marks for the length of the bead work. Marked it up here. That'll eventually get cut off. Then I come in with some Gorilla or any kind of double-sided tape. And I like the stuff, it's got a little bit of thickness to it, almost like a foam, rubbery kind of thing. That helps pop it up a little bit. So now that I've got this much of it done, I'm going to go ahead and peel that protective part off, I hope. Of course, I'm on camera, so nothing ever goes smooth when I'm on camera. Imagine that, huh? Y'all wouldn't know what to think of me if something went smoothly while I was on camera. All right, there's that much. Ta-da! Aren't you proud of me? So anyway, now the fun part is to make sure you get this down without getting it crooked, without having to peel it back and forth a couple of 2 or 3 times. That's just eyeballing it real good. Try not to push it that way. Oop. See, I got a little off there. I think my beadwork is a little bit narrower than my tape, which, because I'm looking at this one side here and it's perfect, but the bottom side bit more tape down there. And then I want to smooth it down. Press it down like that, more or less. And I'm going to have to come back here, cut just a little slither, about 3 lines of beadwork worth. Which I just kind of eyeballed that. I don't know if y'all saw that or not. Try not to get too many fingerprints on it, because that's just a spot that the glue won't be real good on. And I should have peeled that off after I applied it down here, by golly. There we go, right there. Okay. Now, the fun part. And when you lay this out here, keep in mind it's got to match what you've got here. Then what we'll do is take it over to my small Singer 3115. And I'll come in about 3 beads worth and sew this to the back of my belt, or the lining of my belt. And I'm gonna take this off so I can show you. This one's about 1.5 years old. And you can see what I'm talking about there. Nobody will ever see that, but like I said, for 1.5 years old, there's no missing beads, and I'm always on the ground and crawling around. You can see how scratched up that is from having to lay down on the ground up underneath my truck to do something. So I'm gonna cut you loose, and I'll come back later and either do another video or put 2 videos together after I get this sewed in. All right, kiddos, y'all have a good day. I appreciate you watching. DavidMillsSaddlery.com. Toodaloo, bugaroos. All righty, so I got it sewed down, and now I've got this. I started here in the middle. You see what I did here with the paper, so that this doesn't stick to the lining just yet, in case I had to move it. I wish you could see me. I'm moving my hips. Anyway, so now, next thing I'm looking at here is it comes and gets a little wider right there. So I'm trying to push it in like this a little bit. And then I'm taking my hammer, just tapping on it. You want to make darn sure that glue sets, because you sure don't want to be sewing on this and it gets out of the way for you. So now let me pull this over here like this. I can do this, and yeah, one little spot, I guess I put my hand down too hard. Anyway, so there's that. Whoop, telling me I got a low battery. Are you there? Okay. So now I'm just going to try to get this all lined up like I've got it. And ta-da! I like to use the palm of my hand as opposed to a hammer or a tool because, number one, currently don't have any scratches on my hand, and number two, I don't put no tool marks on it that you can't get off. Whoop, that fell to the ground. Quit it. Only one, well, no, I can't say that because I'm pretty clumsy all year round. All right, so now, trying to keep this straight. That's why I'm trying to follow these lines I've got there. Yeah. I moved over that away so I could see what I was doing. Okay, there's that part there. It's kind of tricky. You got to be really, really careful. You need to get in here and burnish the inside of your cut before you do all this. I forgot to mention that earlier. You don't want a bunch of frayed leather out there. So now this is almost ready to sew, but I got some wet spots I got to let dry up. So that's what we're doing now. So letting them dry up. See what I'm doing? I'm hitting and pushing that way. While that's still wet and while I have y'all, the next thing I like to do is not to make a stitch groove, but to make a line to follow. And of course, I'm over here trying to find my dadgum dividers so I can mark it, but now that I got y'all on camera, there they are right there in front of me, by God. So here's where they were set at for this line here. So I'm gonna do about half of that. That's about a quarter, that's almost 5/16. So, and everybody has their own rhyme or reason for their stitch length. What I want to do here is split this in half on this part right here. See what I'm doing now? Like I said, I don't like doing a stitch groove where you literally cut. Let me find my fancy stitch groove here. Or you're literally cutting in, you know, that top layer of your leather. That allows dirt and stuff to get in there. Now, on saddles, there's a lot of places you've got to do that simply because you've got one piece over the top of the other and it'll eventually rub out on you. Now, there is an example of something done without the stitch groover, and you can't see that thread up on top. So that's why I do this. Like I said, it might not be the right way, but it's my way. So take it for what it is. It's just how I guess figured it out on my own. I never did an apprenticeship or anything like that. I'm pretty much self-taught. Other than high school, you know, a leather class in industrial arts in high school back in 1980 or 81. And of course, I worked for a bootmaker. Whoops. Ooh. That's a little tight right there, by golly. I don't like that. I also use an edge guide on the sewing machine. this may be kind of redundant using that, but it also tells me if I'm getting off. You know, sometimes those made in China edge guides don't really hold you real, you know, in a real good spot. So now once that's dried up, I'll go eat lunch now. That'll be all good and dry. Then I'll be able to come back and sew it up on my sewing machine. Same one that did this stitch here. So that'll give you an idea what it's going to look like. This is 1.25 inches. That's why it looks so thin there. All right, kiddos. Remember, once again, davidmillssalary.com. Toodaloo, bugaroos.